Hello, everybody. My name is Jim, and this is a review of Red, a Crayon Story by Michael Hall. So, when I started this channel, I didn't have the intention of ever reviewing a children's book, but this one came along and I felt compelled to do it. I think it's an important one to review. Also, I don't really know the rules around reviewing children's books. I don't know if spoilers really pertain to them. So I'm just gonna kind of keep the synopsis a little basic. I don't know. But basically, this story is about a crayon who is blue on the inside but has been mislabeled as red. And because of this crayon's label, the society around this crayon is trying to force it to create red drawings and behave like a red crayon. But on the inside, the truth is that this crayon is not red, it's blue. And as it struggles to fit in as a red crayon, as its label says, the other crayons around it have opinions about what he should be doing better and how he should be behaving. This is a great look into people in our world being mislabeled, and the most obvious connection in this story is, of course, being transgender and having a specific gender label slapped on you to meet societal expectations when deep down that is just not you. That is not your truth. That is the easiest application for this. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about applications in a little bit, but I do want to highlight that because I think that it's important. I did see a discussion around age appropriateness because this sort of conversation when it comes to children may not happen during the younger years. Similar to other children's books that I don't necessarily know exactly how to place. Like I reviewed I Go Quiet and I wasn't really sure exactly where the children's book could be marketed because I'm not a children's book author, so I'm not as well versed in that sort of thing. But as far as age appropriateness is concerned, I think this book is perfectly fine. You may run into a situation where a child reads this book and they're just like, okay, they take it at the surface level and they see it as a crayon who was mislabeled. It doesn't matter how, it just happened to be. And that's perfectly okay. But I think a lot of times parents and teachers read these books to children. And in many of those cases, doesn't matter if it's this book or another one, the lesson that's taught in the book is taught and reinforced by that parent as that child grows. So as far as this being age appropriate, I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's great for a parent to tell a child early on that they support them and that they want their child to live their truth and be who they want to be. And again, if that child turns around and is just like, okay, they still have that in their mind that their parents are not going to push against them and they are free to live the life that they need to live safely and freely. And then, of course, as the years go on and when this book is pushed away and isn't revisited, through a child's teen years into adulthood, that message is still repeated and still ingrained so that that child feels loved and comfortable in their own skin. And kind of going back to the applications, while gender identity is a very easy connection to make with this book and probably the connection that many people have made, I saw myself relating to this. I thought of many situations that this could apply to as well. But when a child reads a book like this, they see it at the face level. They know that the blue crayon is mislabeled and is being mistreated, though luckily Michael Hall did a good job of kind of dulling down the mistreatment. I think in real life, people are a lot more cruel, but in this book, the other crayons who had opinions were a bit softer in their methods. So I appreciate Michael Hall for doing it that way. As far as I'm concerned, this book is about acceptance, and I feel that children are able to understand and accept that a lot more than the adults. So I do think that as far as adults reading this book, I think they really need to take this in. And also, possibly apply it to something in their own lives. I don't know of very many people. Obviously, I don't know, the specifics of every single person's life, but there are many people that I know who have been mislabeled in some type of way. For example, with me, I always tried to pass as straight. Never really worked. I think everybody kind of knows about me if they know me, because pretty much anybody that I've ever come out to, they just said, honey, we know already. But I certainly have been mislabeled, or at least have tried to mislabel myself and tried to pass. But there are other applications to this as well. If you're someone who is biracial, I've heard this story a lot, where you were never fully accepted on one side or the other. Or if you are growing up in a family of lawyers and your parents are forcing you to go to law school when you really just want to be a graphic designer, that's also a form of mislabeling. They're trying to put you in a box that you simply do not fit and you don't want to be in. So there are so many applications that this story can relate to. When you think about those additional applications and the way that you can interpret this story, I think that allows you to let yourself into these other situations that maybe you're not as familiar with. You understand your own struggle, and then that opens you up to listening to other stories and their struggles and their situations. So I feel like Red, a Crayon story, can relate to more people than I think people are giving this book credit for. Luckily, again, it is very highly rated, and that's awesome. But for those who rated it so low, I even saw some reviews where the kid loved it, but the parent had a problem with it. Think a little bit more like a kid. Be a little bit more accepting. Be a little bit more open when you read this book, and you might even relate to it yourself. That's my review for Red, a Crayon Story by Michael Hall. I've been Jim. You've been great. Happy reading.